Hello and welcome to the CWT Business Audio Show. As those who've been listening to this podcast for a while know, I love Bitcoin. I love the technology around it. I love what it stands for and I love what it does. And I've been investing in Bitcoin for quite a while now. I also, sell a lot of Bitcoin themed products on my personal store, including, several shirts, sweatshirts, all that kind of stuff. And it's definitely been a big part of, my business journey, what I've actually built business around and that kind of thing. But Bitcoin is only around, crypto as a whole is around 15 to 20% of my entire investment portfolio, with Bitcoin definitely being the largest part of that, but also not the entire thing. So I guess it'd probably be around, 12% of my entire investment portfolio is Bitcoin. And I consider that to be a lot. I consider that to be a huge portfolio allocation to one individual thing. With my, 12% of my entire investment portfolio being into Bitcoin, I consider that pretty heavily in Bitcoin. However, a lot of the Bitcoin podcasts and stuff like that I listen to have around 90 to 95% of their entire investment portfolio into Bitcoin, which is insane to actually think about. But the question is, who's really being smarter here? Is it me that has, 12% in Bitcoin? Or is it, them who have 90 to 95% in Bitcoin? Is it actually, or not even that, would it be smart to put 100% of all your investing into Bitcoin? Now keep in mind, I'm not saying anyone should put 100% of all their investments into Bitcoin. That's not what I'm saying at all. I just kind of want to explore the actual facts behind it and discuss if that is something like that actually a good idea. So keep in mind that so far, if you invest into Bitcoin, when it actually first came out, it's the greatest investment you could have possibly made over the last 10 years. Bitcoin is the greatest performing asset over the last 10 years. Which means that if Bitcoin first came out, if you had put all of your investments actually into Bitcoin and went 100% Bitcoin, you would have performed extremely well. Keep in mind, the most investors get is around 10% a year. That's what the market actually does. The market goes up 10% each year on average, and hardly anyone actually beats the market. Meaning that most investors get below that 10%. Bitcoin as a whole has gone up on average over 150% each year. Bitcoin, at time of actually recording this, is up 91% year to date. The S&P 500, which is the 500 largest U.S. companies, is up 16% year to date. So as we can see, even now where Bitcoin does have a pretty high market cap, it is still performing insanely better than basically everything else. And, this is something that, obviously the, history is not necessarily an indicator of the future, but it does show that so far investing into Bitcoin is the best decision someone could really make, actually investment wise. Now the thing is, obviously this is something that's not, sustainable in the sense that because Bitcoin has a relatively small market cap compared to a lot of assets, it has the room to actually expand more than other assets. We consider, what Bitcoin has done. Obviously, when it's a very small market cap, it is insanely easy for that to double, where now if next year Bitcoin were to again double, it would have to go up by another $1 trillion in market cap, which is a lot of money. So while I'll still believe that Bitcoin will provide fairly large returns, I don't see it still going up 150%, each year long term. I think it's definitely going to have to slow down, quite a bit. But it is hard to deny how good of a decision investing in Bitcoin has historically been. The fact that it's the best performing asset, the fact that even now with Bitcoin having, relatively, a much higher market cap than it did before, it is still able to significantly beat the market by such a high percent. It's absolutely amazing to see. I also think that, Bitcoin still has a lot of room to grow and will grow. I think, with El Salvador adopting it as currency, for the first time, we're kind of going to see how an actual nation uses Bitcoin as a currency. And I think if the whole, experiment, for lack of a better word, is successful, I think we'll start seeing more and more nations do that, and the more of that happens, the more money actually gets poured into Bitcoin, and then obviously the price goes up for everyone. I think that this line of adoption will grow Bitcoin so significantly that it's going to be an insanely good investment to actually have. That's just my opinion, but I think it definitely has a lot of room to grow. So while, I don't necessarily think people should put 100% of their investing into Bitcoin, because I think, diversification is, a lot safer, I do think that, obviously I can't deny that so far the people that are putting, 90, 95% of their whole, investing into Bitcoin have made insanely well returns. They just have. That's simply just a fact. So, time will tell if that continues to be a good decision. But I do see a lot of, opportunity that Bitcoin still has, with adoption, with company adoption. And keep in mind that, $1 trillion market cap, which is what Bitcoin currently has, it's a very, interesting discussion. It's actually something that I've definitely considered myself. Most of the actual investing I do is obviously into stocks, but with Bitcoin outperforming basically everything that I hold by such a huge percentage, obviously it does feel like going 100% into that particular, asset. It does almost seem like the logical thing to do. And because the actual stocks I have are such good companies that I believe are going to be so beneficial for the next 10 years, because of that fact, I do believe that holding them is the best decision. But also, I can't deny the amount of returns I would have had by just going 100% into Bitcoin. Obviously, it is a riskier kind of investing that does take, massive swings in valuation. But does it really matter if that's true if it always ends up, or at least historically, swinging back higher than it was before? A lot of people that don't invest in Bitcoin are doing it because it's a volatile asset. But does it really matter? Because if Bitcoin shoots up 100% and then falls by 50%, it's still up 50%. Does it really matter how volatile it is if it's still providing such insanely good returns? So on the subject, is if going, 100% into Bitcoin a good decision? I personally won't do it because there's other companies that I think are going to be extremely beneficial. There's other investments I want to make. And also the level of safety, other investments actually have and other allocations is something I want to have. But I don't think that personally, those who do go 100% into Bitcoin, I definitely think they have a point. And so far, they've returned better than almost anyone. And that's really my thoughts on the matter. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Subscribe on whatever platform you're currently listening on.